decided not to mislead this committee, or the reverse applies. Witness, I will draw your attention to the salient features of your submission in line with your specific comments on the bill. I request that you give a summary of the introduction and proceed directly to the comments on the key issues of the bill as per your correspondence with management as I did. Witness, you are free to make your submission.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the guidance. Just for the purpose of those that might be interacting with us for the first time, I just want to appreciate and just share a little bit about the organization that we are coming from. So the Alliance for Accountability Advocates Zambia, of course, appreciates this opportunity that you have granted us to make a submission to this very important process. Chair, the organization is a membership organization, and it has members in all the 10 provinces. And so as we speak, we have consulted our colleagues and members in the 10 provinces. Sorry, my laptop doesn't want me to read what I'd put together. So our focus is governance work, and we promote youth participation, women participation in governance issues. And so as we make this presentation, Chair, we make this presentation from a well-informed point. Chair, as you have directed us to just speak to some of the points that we have put together, this submission that we are making is a collective of submissions that we've made before the different structures that have been created to have this conversation in Bill 7. We would want to put it on record, Chair, that our engagement from the start has been to ensure that the process determines the content. And because of that, we thought that it is imperative for us to appear before this committee and submit some of the things that we've always raised and upheld that should be considered. Chair, we appreciate that the different processes that have taken to this point has indeed taken interest in some of the things that we have been, submitting even to the head of state with regards to ensuring that the process is considering the views of other people. And we appreciate that there was a committee that was appointed to go around and collect submission. However, we are saddened that out of the 20 million people, above 20 million population of this country, only 11,000 were consulted. And these 11,000, if you think of it, over 20 million population, is a drop on the ocean. Out of about 19 million have not provided a say to this, and this is a very important process. So we would have loved a process that would have engaged more people, because this is a constitution of Zambia and not a constitution of individuals. With that said, Chair, we would want to put to record that as we continue this discussion and as we put the discussion on the things that we've prepared to present to this committee, we would have loved and would love that as a committee you advise the National Assembly and the parliamentarians as you continue discussing to withdraw this bill, because there are a lot of issues that we'll be able to talk to that we had raised. So, Chair, just to start with speaking on the issues that are pertinent in the bill, we'll start with the issue of the mixed member representation, which we appreciate as civil society, because we've been advocating that there is need for representation of different bodies in the highest decision-making structures, but also including the local structures. We want to ensure that different groupings, especially the youths, women and people with disabilities, are well represented. However, what has been suggested in Bill 7 does not reflect the interest of civil society in terms of that representation. We'll start with the selection of the numbers that are suggested to have to be appointed as a representation of the mixed member representation, Chair, to our view as an organization, it does not represent the views and the interest of the youths in terms of representation, including the women. If you look at those numbers, they're very insignificant, and we think that this process should have started with political parties, because these are structures that should provide opportunities for people to be able to represent them in Parliament. But if we only appoint these individuals to sit in Parliament, we know the allegiance that always goes to their pointing finger, and it will not represent the views and the interest of the majority of the Zambian people that would have voted for the young people or the women to be representing them in Parliament. So with that, we think that they should be looked at and ensure that it reflects the interest of the Zambian people. So not only does this amendment fail to meaningfully address the chronic underrepresentation of the groups it purports to aid, and fall short of stakeholder recommendations, the proportional representation portion of this system outlined in Bill 7 lacks clarity of how it would work in practice and suffers from technical defeat. Chair, we've provided details per clause and of course further information in our submission to that. So I'll not be able to explain everything as you've guided, but just in conclusion on that aspect, clause 45 of the current constitution requires fair representation of various interest groups and gender equity in both the National Assembly and the councils, yet the proposed amendment in Bill 7 apply exclusively to the National Assembly, and for that we think that it falls short to the interest of the Zambian people. Chair, the numbers are very clear. We have 20 seats reserved for women, which would definitely be less than 8% of the total number of membership of the National Assembly. 12 seats for youths would be less than 5%, and indeed 3 seats that are proposed for people with disabilities will again be less than 2% of the National Assembly representation. And we strongly think that those, if we address this issue better and put proper strategies, such as ensuring that political parties have a guidance on how they should constitute their membership, these should be will be well addressed. Chair, with that said, I want to move to the other aspect, the increasing of members from 156 to 256 members of Parliament. We think that, Chair, the government has stated that amendment is needed to actualize the delimitation report by the Electoral Commission. However, since its production in 2019, the report has remained a secret despite numerous calls for the publication and of course requirement from international practices. There is no precedent in democratic countries for the delimitation of election boundaries to be treated as a state secret. Of course, we understand that delimitation is a very important exercise, and would have loved that indeed our vast constituencies are delimited for the purpose of development, as it has been argued. However, some of the issues that have been raised for delimitation also are issues of ensuring that CDF is equitably distributed. Chair, that argument is not a good argument, because CDF can be decided on how it should be distributed to constituencies based on the needs and based on the issues that constituencies face, and it should not be an issue that should sit in the constitution. It's an administrative issue, and I'm sure Honorable would definitely attest to that decisions can be made on how these resources can be allocated for the better and for the betterment of the Zambian people. So, Chair, our key issue that we are raising in that is that the power to draw electoral boundaries and to create new constituencies has profound implications for Zambia's or indeed any country, and of course democracy that we uphold as a country. For this reason, boundary delimitation procedures are often prescribed within precisions in curtail the risk of political influence and the delimitation of electoral boundaries for political advantage. The ERTC report recommends delimitation and the increase of constituencies in line with the principle of non-partisan approach to ensure that delimitation is conducted without political bias or manipulation, using population equity, which ensures that each vote carries equal weight. Bill 7, however, attempts to increase the number of constituencies without any discriminable basis and without legitimate justification. This sets a concerning precedent for the constitution and the electoral system to be at the mercy of those who control the government at any particular time. Chair, to that fact, we've currently been undertaking voter registration, and a lot of people have expressed interest to register in their particular constituencies. If we went ahead and delimited, we'll actually be pushing people to vote in constituencies that they did not maybe even register, and that would be an infringement on their right, because each person has a right to choose their leader, and we should not be pushed to choose a leader based on the delimitation that will be done at this particular time. So we think that if we're going to undertake this exercise, it should be done at a time when people have been given enough time to choose which area they would want to vote from and which area they should, choose their leaders from. Chair, I want then to also move to the issue of I'll straight go to
witness, just for guidance. If you feel you need to emphasize a point, you may emphasize it, but if you feel you've adequately addressed, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I'll go to the appointment of members of Parliament to district councils. Chair, stakeholders and citizens have long championed devolution as a mechanism for bringing decision making and ultimately development and greater democratic participation to the grassroots, local government structures, primarily district councils. Of course, we know that these structures perform key roles in local governance. Inserting members of Parliament into local council blurs the separation between national and local government structures and weakens accountability, undermines the work of local council, and potentially overtaxing members of Parliament by providing additional duties at the local level. Further, the government has not demonstrated that this was a recommendation from stakeholders, and it is not contained in the ERTC report. Chair, in summary of Bill 7 in this issue, clause 153(2)(b) intends to make an MP a member of the council by right of office. The key issue there, Chair, is where progress has been made in Zambia, devolution process, decentralization, key decentralizing key government functions and allowing greater input and ultimately benefit the grassroots level. Further decentralization is required to ensure accountable participatory governance. And Chair, just on this point, we want to appreciate the role that members of parliament provide in terms of oversight. Now, if you bring them to the council, who will be providing oversight to those local structures? So we appreciate that members of parliament can continue their role of providing oversight at national level and indeed at local level, rather than sitting to make decisions at local level, which they have the representation through the council and different structures that exist at that level. So our argument there, Chair, is to ensure that we have a separation of power as it has been, where we have the members of parliament making these wonderful laws that will benefit as Zambians, as opposed to going to the councils to deliberate the same issues that they would want to see being implemented at national level. Chair, additional issue in terms of the experience of the very important structures that provide technical support to our government. For example, the experience of Secretary to Cabinet and of course time limits for mayors. Our submission, Chair, is that the two additional amendments have also been proposed in Bill 7, the lowering of the years of experience for the Secretary to Cabinet and the removal of term limits for mayors. Of course, Chair, the government has failed again to demonstrate that either of these amendments are curing a true democratic or development challenge. Our submission, Chair, is we should maintain as it is in the current constitution. I know I've skipped a number of clauses, but we are happy to respond to any questions that the House may have. However, my colleagues will also be able to add to what some of the things that I might have skipped that are pertinent to us. Chair, in conclusion to my submission, notwithstanding the need for comprehensive, transparent, inclusive and participatory constitutional reforms grounded in serious analysis and research as you're doing, Bill 7 should be rejected on the basis that not only does the government's propose fail to meet minimum standards for a credible reform process, but the content of the amendment poses a grave threat to Zambia's democracy both now and in the future, and of course for the future generations. My colleagues, if you have any addition, you may add before the committee maybe have some comments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, witness. Honorable members, that's the submission from the witness. The Alliance for Accountability Advocates Zambia, AAZ, a summarized version of their submissions. We are now free to engage and interact with them. Honorable Nkombo.
Thank you very, very much, Chairman, and thanks, colleagues, for your submission. I would like to pick your mind once again on what I may have heard you say regarding delimitation, and that the effect of it, if I heard you correctly, you must confirm whether I heard you right or not before I pose my substantive question. Did you say that the delimitation may disadvantage the already registered voters, in that once the constituencies are separated or split, they may be forced to vote in an area where they ordinarily did not want to vote? Did I hear you say that?
Honorable, you heard me right. I said in some cases people that might have registered in a particular constituency, when you delimitate, you'll have two constituencies in that particular.
Yeah, so do you know that, I thought I heard you right, Do you know that this time around the voter registration allowed for people to register for the particular polling station of their choice?
Yes. I'm aware of that.
You are aware about
Yes.
that. So, if you are aware, how then does delimitation pull them away from that polling station where they chose to vote? Because I know that in the case of the constituency that I represent, if you want to...
Just for guidance witness, you allow the member to exhaust his clarification, then I'll guide for your response.
Yeah. Let's assume you live on the Copper Belt and you want to vote constituency, and Nkana is due for delimitation. You are aware, as you've just confirmed, that in Nkana you register to vote at a particular polling station within Nkana constituency, so much so that if it is split, you will not move. So would you still argue that delimitation is not welcome because it may disadvantage people to go and vote in areas where they ordinarily did not desire to vote? And if you will, Chair, I want to declare an interest before I ask the second very short question, that I'm a member of Parliament, and I want to address the issue of the MP going back to the council. So I want to say this question without prejudice, because I heard you say you wish the affairs of the local jurisdiction to be dealt with by the local authority who are voted within that particular jurisdiction. Now I put it to you that all MPs are voted for at a local level. There's no MP currently other than the nominated MPs who's voted at national level, and they are voted in order to represent that particular constituency. So yes, in the last constitutional reform they were dismembered for reasons that we do not know. Now the job of an MP is threesome: to legislate, as we are doing now, to provide oversight in the case of us backbenchers to the executive, and to represent. Now if we dwell on the representation role, how do I represent people whose affairs have been dismembered? I wanted you to just help me on that score. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Witness, I do guide that to take note of that question. We'll proceed to other questions. Honorable Kakuo, then we go like this, we'll get to you, Honorable Banta.
Chair, thank you very much. I thought I'd make just a comment based on your submission. I noticed that your preamble and your conclusion are basically the same statement, where you are saying that ultimately your desire is that the bill is withdrawn. As a committee, I think for your comfort, I would like you to be aware that the committee receives submissions in whichever form they come. Also to mention that we've also interacted with witnesses who came just like yourselves, who have put their foot down that the bill must proceed as they wish as well, just like you wish that it may be withdrawn. I thought I make it very clear to you that our preserve as a committee is to receive your submissions and other alternate submissions as they come. So be aware that there are witnesses who are pro the bill. So yeah, I thought I just mentioned that, Chair. I'll come back with questions later.
Thank you, Chair. I'm next.
Honorable Samake, then Honorable Man.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, mine is not a question, it's just a comment on some of the submissions by the witness. I heard the witness say there is no legitimate justification in delimitation. For what we know, the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia demands that after 10 years
there must be delimitation. And I think that is justification enough. We should have actually delimitated in 2010. Okay, it failed. 2016, it failed. 2021, we failed. So we are flouting the constitution of the Republic of Zambia already by not delimiting. So I just wanted to bring this information to you. That's the observation I wanted to make to the witness chair. Thank you.
Honorable Mwandu.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'll begin with a comment, then I have a point of clarification, which will be my ending point. I heard the witness chair saying they need consultation. Witness, I want to maybe a witness to explain who carries the voice of the people. Elected members of parliament who represent almost all the people of this country. Each one of you NGOs, you either reside in a ward or constituency, and you deposit your power into your elected members of parliament. Therefore, for me, I've always argued, if someone calls me, I tell them you have a member of parliament. Therefore, the best people who we can consult is us members of parliament. I want to declare that interest, not NGOs. Anyone can wake up today and form an NGO. They're not carrying the voice of the people. They are just advocates. But the people carrying the voice of the people, it's us members of parliament, council chairpersons and councillors. I want our witness to understand that. So the best people to consult, it is us, not NGOs. I want to put that on record. Then coming to the issue of proportional proportional representation, which again, according to your submission, you are saying you are likely to achieve any meaningful results. You've indicated in this report, actually, Chair, they've even given figures to say how can a constituency that has only maybe 11,000 that they've quoted here is high. We have a constituency where a member of parliament comes to parliament with 4,000, and a constituency that has 160,000. How can the electorates enjoy the same representation? It is in here submitted by yourselves. So, when do you think is the right time for us to delimitate? Secondly, I want you to tell us, have you consulted as NGOs in members of parliament to find out if they've consulted their people? Because consultation doesn't need to take 6 months or 7 months, I believe. I was on the ground with the people and I know the position of the people of Chama South. Have you taken time to find out if your members of parliament have consulted their people, and what answer have they given? Because he's talking about inadequate consultation with the people. Who is supposed to consult the people? Is it NGOs or us members of parliament? If have you, whether we are, I submit, Chair.
Honorable Banda, then we can you have an intervention, Honorable Gambita, Honorable Banda, then Honorable Gambita, then we'll ask the witness to address those.
Thank you so much, Chair. My question would be like,
anyway, actually, point of clarification will be like a rider on what Honorable Mungandu has hinted on in the area of consultation witnessed. I believe Zambia is divided into provinces. We have 10, and then we have got 116 districts, and then we have got 156 constituencies, which are represented by members of parliament. I also believe that a technical committee was formed to go around the country and get some submissions from members of the public. And this process happened, and the technical committee has since handed in the report. In your submission, you mentioned in the early stage that the consultation was not done properly, because according to you, out of about 20 million people, only about 11,000 participated. Now, my point of clarification is, are you trying to suggest that the failure to get maybe half of the population to submit is on the part of government, when they did what could have been done by putting up a technical committee that went round the country to get the views? Aside, members of parliament like myself, I do communicate with my constituents through my councillors who represent wards. Tell me what are the views of the people when I'm not there, and when I'm there I also consult the people. So it's the number that you have overlooked, that the MPs also have added, and the technical committee was in districts getting views, for some days, and people were sensitized. Now, if people decide not to go there, are you putting it as a blame on the government that they did not get enough, consultation? Or maybe you are suggesting that it should have been in another form, and that the form of consultation that I may want you to propose, that maybe it should have been done in this way. To conclude, Chair, is just to say, I know when you are touching on the rights of the citizens, it has to be subjected to the referendum. I stand to be corrected. Now, is it what you are suggesting? Because that's the only way through which everyone will go to the polling station and vote what they want. So I need a clarification on that one, so that going forward, maybe something may be done according to how you wish. Chair, I submit.
Thank you, Honorable Gambita. Then immediately after Honorable Gambita makes his submission, you are free to address those concerns.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Witness, I heard you clearly stating when you were explaining yourself concerning the mixed member proportional representation system, which in your opinion you believe that lacks clarity in how it is going to be implemented, and then you drew an accusation to say that whoever will appoint those people who will be part of parliament, that's where the allegiance of those who are appointed will lie. And my question to you is very categorical. Are you assuming that there is some power which will appoint those people, which is not legislated? Could you please clearly show me in this bill where it pinpoints where the power is being given to for appointing? Apart from, if it is the presidency, it's very clear of what the presidency will appoint in terms of nomination, and we are giving those powers expressly. But again, your argument, in my opinion, lacks the support of prescription. It is an assumption. So when it's an assumption, it remains an assumption. Additionally, you're challenging the process. So you opine that this process lacks extensive consultation, and it means you have some standard that you have set, which you would accept as this is the standard of consultation. However, when I ask you again another question, in a similar manner, show me which piece of legislation prescribes the process of how we can amend the Constitution, apart from the power that is given to this House to amend the Constitution. All clauses of Constitution can be amended by Parliament except for the Bill of Rights, and I think Article 79, which gives those restrictions. So, if that is the case, then how then does this process become flawed? Because we are doing exactly what we are mandated to do, and there's a bill before us which is on its way to Parliament for the legislators to actually act on it, and stopping it and other measures have been put which are actually legislated in here in terms of how a constitutional bill must pass second reading and third reading. It's the members that dictate. If really there is an issue with a constitutional amendment bill, the members will stop it, but the process is not prescribed in legislation. So how then do you advance what you are advancing without the backing of the law? Because what we are doing is the law. I need your comment on that premise.
Witness, you are free to comment.
Thank you, honorable members, for the very difficult questions that you've asked. I'll be able to unpack some of the issues as we have prescribed in the document that we've submitted. Honorable Gary Nkombo, you're asking on the delimitation aspect and how this might differentiate. In our view, we think that it would differentiate people that would have registered in a particular polling station. Honorable, registration is one thing, and at the point where we are registering, we know that you are the honorable member in that constituency, and we're happy to vote for you. But come the time of delimitation, I'll be given another, in that polling station that I've registered, there might be another member, a person who come and aspire to be a member of Parliament. So if my choice was for you, my choice would have then have to be given to this other person, because this is where I have to vote. And for me, or for us, that is why we are saying, at this point, you're differentiating me, because I'd chosen to vote in this particular constituency because I wanted to vote for Honorable Gary Nkombo. But now you're pushing me to go and vote to this other constituency where there is Honorable Kakubo, who probably is not my choice at that particular time. So, but because I'm supposed to vote in this particular constituency, I will have to choose. So it is in that context that we're thinking that it will differentiate the people's rights in terms of choice, because at that particular point you'll have to choose within that constituency that you be found yourself to be in. In terms of representation at local level, Honorable, and I appreciate that you have the vast experience, because you have been at the helm of Minister of Local Government, and you know the development issues that happen there that need proper oversight. And we're not saying we're removing you from making decisions as members of Parliament. We are emphasizing that your oversight role is very significant, as opposed to sitting in those chambers debating what should go where and what should not go where. And indeed, you are elected by the people, and therefore when you are elected by the people, you also want to have people that you are going to work with, and you have the councils, the councillors, and all these ward development committees that should be able to submit the reports to you for approval and oversight processes. We think that you sitting in that committee or that council is a lot of work when you look at the amount of work that you have in terms of the legislation that you are doing right now. you can imagine the councils are also sitting to do bylaws now, and you are required to sit in that chamber because the constitution demands that you are there. How much more would you be able to do as a member of parliament? So for us, it's basically separation of power and nothing to remove you from the responsibility that you have and the choice of the people that they have made. So we would want you to focus on ensuring that you are providing that oversight and also ensuring that you have enough time even for yourself, because this is a lot of work that you do and we appreciate the work that you're doing. Honorable Kako, I appreciate that you reminded us that we are getting submission from both ends, and we do take note of that. And this is why we had to make it firmly to say we are coming to make this presentation on this firm ground. We've been part of the process, and we appreciate that there are others who would want this bill to pass. And we are all Zambians, and we have a right to present what we want to present. So, and we're grateful that you provided this opportunity for us to be able to provide, this submission. And we do not take it light. We appreciate and respect this process that you have given to us. So thank you for reminding us on that. Honorable Samakai, the issue of delimitation again comes back. You should have done it in 2010, and now it's the right time to do it. Yes, I think we're not really saying delimitation should not be done. Delimitation should be done, but I think even in responding to what I've provided or said to Honorable Gary Nkombo, it's ensuring that people are well informed, and this is why we are crying for the report that has been done since 2019 and has never been given to the people of Zambia to understand if delimitation was done. This is what it will imply. These are the issues that needs to be done. So it's just the process that currently is happening.
Just for guidance, I think Honorable Samakai was asking, you said there's no legitimate justification for delimitation. The Constitution provides in black and white. It even provides why.
Yes.
So Honorable Samaka is trying to find out what is informing your submission.
Sure.
There is no legitimate justification for delimitation.
I think it's the process that is that we are speaking to. So if yes, the Constitution does provide for that, and every 10 years we need to delimitate. But it's the process that we are speaking to on how this delimitation should be done. And in fact, delimitation could be done even without, amending the Constitution. And I'm sure you will be able to guide us on that. So, attaching it to this process.
Honorable Gambito, so point of order witness.
Sure.
Just a point of order, Chairperson, so that we deal with an issue contemporaneously. The witness is submitting here that it's just the process, meaning that he agrees with the fact that our legislation actually provides for the delimitation, and the process is what is prescribed. So it's coded when it appears in the Constitution like that. But what you're challenging now to say just the process is not backed by any piece of legislation, and the law is the law. So this also boils down to the question I raised earlier, which is yet to respond. As he responds to that question I raised, he must also combine it with what he seems to be advancing and saying that the process. So the process backed by what? So on which premise are you standing to challenge this process?
Okay, on the same matter. Okay, Honorable Nyambos, then Honorable Nkom.
Thank you very yeah, me it's a simple one. Just to buttress the point, you raised a very important issue, and I think everyone is following you, that there is no legitimate justification for delimitation. This is what I want you to explain. what do you mean when delimitation is supported by the Constitution? For you, you are saying that is not legitimate according to what you said. Then later on you have changed, say it's a process. Do you still insist that your statement to what Honorable Samakai asked, you still stand with it? What is sitting or prescribed in the Constitution, for you it's not legitimate? Then what is legitimate? I quoted you. I just wanted to raise this matter so that the public can follow us.
Thank you, Honorable Nkombo.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman and witness, it is on the same matter. You are aware this Constitution stipulates exactly how many constituencies this country should have, and it's 156. So how then would you pronounce yourself to the fact that we do not need to change the Constitution to delimitate? Because I thought I heard that we have to change this particular article that casts a number of constituencies in this Constitution for us to touch delimitation. So probably it would be nice to just correct yourself on the issue, because it goes beyond just simply delimitating without having to touch the Constitution. Without the number, the cast number of 156, you may argue that way.
Okay, witness, you're guided. You may make those responses.
Thank you, honorable members, for those wonderful questions and indeed corrections that you've given to us. So in terms of the legitimacy, we appreciate that, yes, it sits in the Constitution, and that is the ultimate legitimacy. However, without prescription of why we should do it is what is the contention here. And this is why we keep on crying for the report, that the report carries out the reasons to why we want to delimitate. The argument now, and I think I had made it, I'd reference to it on the aspect of ensuring that CDF is equitably distributed. That is political argument, if you want to put it that way, because the issue of how resources are distributed in this country, among others, they can actually be administrative. But we'll not overemphasize on that, and you have rightly corrected this, that this is within the legitimacy because it sits in the Constitution, and that we are well guided. However, what we would have loved to see the reasons to why we are delimitating, as backed up with the law that we have in the Constitution. And that is why we keep on emphasizing in the report. Can we see some of the reasons? Can we understand which constituencies are earmarked to be delimitated? As we speak, it is hearsay that the constituencies that will be delimitated are A, B, and C, because we've not seen a technical report being provided and giving those specific reasons to why we should support the legitimacy that sits in the Constitution. I hope I've made myself clear on that point, honorable members of Parliament. In terms of who carries the voice, it's unfortunate the honorable who raised the question has stepped out. Definitely we appreciate that you, honorable members of Parliament, does take the voice of the people, because they voted for you to represent them in a National Assembly and in the legislation process. However, this voice of the people sometimes, I think, and we have to be realistic to ourselves, is disadvantaged at different processes. Having voted for you, honorable members of Parliament, gives you the power to sit in parliament and to debate issues. However, we think that even as you are debating these issues, you need to continue engaging with your people, to amplify their voice, because you're not sitting there to just speak on your own behalf. You're speaking on behalf of the people, and we do appreciate that you are the carriers of the voice of the people. With regards to this process, we think that we could have done better in terms of getting the voices of the people. The Honorable talked about the technical committee having gone round, and I'll combine this because it's almost the same thing. The technical committee having gone round the provinces to get the voices of the people. And of course, you do also have an opportunity to engage with the councillors and ask them what they want to see being passed, and they've provided, and probably that should have been captured to include on the numbers that has been reported on the technical committee's report, so that the numbers could have gone up. Honourable members, we think that the issues that we're debating in Bill 7 have nicely been crafted by the executive, which of course is the responsibility of government. However, as they were going round to get more submissions, we should have opened it up to many issues that we would have loved to be addressed. You've talked about the issue of referendum, which is very important. When you talk about the rights, those are important issues. And if it would have allowed people to submit even on those issues. I know that the submissions that were made, people came out, among many others. We have our members who went to the technical committee, submitted on issues of definition of a youth, of a child, and all these issues. If you go through this report, some of those things will not be considered, because there was a prescribed method and content that people should be able to speak to. And so those other issues that would have been raised by the Zambian citizens would have definitely not been included in this report. But more so, we think that this process could have addressed many issues. So what would be done with this Bill 7 by the end of probably this year or early next year? Just after it is passed, you yourselves, honorable members, you will come back to another issue that you'd want to amend the constitution, because would have just amended the piecemeal of the many issues that are in the constitution. And I think there's been those arguments. So we think that a more inclusive approach in addressing these issues could have been undertaken. In terms of the PR, we didn't talk about when is the right time to do this. We talked about how it should have been done, because we think that the when is not an argument that we can bring to this table and say we should have done it in August or we should have done it after this. But what we wanted was to ensure that there is enough time for people to discuss, debate, and have really issues that they are speaking to. Honorable members, to be practical, our Zambian people have many times, not now, but in many times have withdrawn in contributing to development. Reasons? Because we basically include them or call them to participate to a process that is predefined, as opposed to helping them understand how they should even contribute to development. I'll give you an example. There are many times when we've taken development, the CDF issues, to the constituencies, and you are on how even in monitoring what is happening. Many are times when street lights have been put in our streets, and today you go in a community, nicely street lights put there, the following day you find them vandalized. Do you know the reason why? Because we do not fully involve the Zambian people to own these processes, and as such we will continue to back these processes.
Order witness, we don't want you to stray and take the committee at the sea. So we must stick to the objects of the bill. there's no need to give an impression like consultation has not been done. The voice of the people was appearing before this committee, collected around the 10 provinces. There is no feasible consultation process that can consult the entire population. As a witness, you cannot even tell us in the 20 million people how many are minors. Such kind of information. So as you make your submission, you need to be a bit more practical. And just for your information, the 11,000 is the highest registered by any Constitutional Review Commission, the highest. So perhaps we would also want to know, if you see out of 20,000, only 11,000 plus have received submissions, are you able to show us where more was achieved? Was it Mungomba? Was it what? So we need to be really factual in the submissions, and so as a witness you can help this committee to also reflect what is factual. Not this committee guiding you on what you must submit, but your submissions must be really factual and not misleading, but you are guided to proceed.
Thank you, Chair, for the guidance once more. So we still commend you for and having gotten a report from the committee which represented the voices of the people, and that is very important. And definitely, yes, this has been the highest number. We do not dispute that. What we are saying is that we could have allowed the process to have more people, because this is an opportunity where we're living in a time where technology plays a very critical role, and we allowed people to submit even online, and the 11,000 includes people that submitted online. If we did well, and we talk about Zambia being a youthful population, and the majority of Zambians are on social media and different platforms, and we could have also come up with other strategies that would have helped in getting those submissions beyond the 11,000, which we think that is a small number still, even if it's the highest. Maybe concluding my to some of the issues that probably have been raised, I think I've addressed to Honorable Banda's issue on how, in terms of the technical committee process, I think I've already spoken to that, and also showing the legitimacy of...
You're free to respond.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I believe the witness has been dodging my questions, because the submission by the witness, understandably, is more on opinion, not backed by the law, and this is where I have asked. We've presented questions with extracts from the law itself, the Constitution itself. We have cited concerning delimitation. We have also cited the law concerning the process of how a constitution can be amended. Maybe a clear-cut question that I would ask the witness is do you know that even just one private member in Parliament can actually move a motion to amend the constitution, save for part 3 and the article that speaks to protection of the constitution itself? Do you know that? Yes. Now, this bill has got very few articles that are being touched. So the question of consultation, and in fact consultation has been demonstrated as presented by Chair here in terms of the numbers. There are very few articles that are being touched in this amendment bill. Now, I've not heard you speak to each one of them to say we are rejecting this one because of these reasons. All reasons that you have advanced have not been backed by the law itself, because it's the law we are dealing with here. So now, how does this process we are doing now become illegal when we are actually getting it from the law? That is the answer I need from you. how does this process, how do you have issues with this process when you cannot justify stopping this process using the law? Can you give me a clear reason to why this process using the law is not legal? Is there any other way in which you can amend the constitution apart from what we're doing now? Save for part 3 of the constitution and Article 79.
This is what Honorable Mandu ask Honorable Sabah. The witness will respond, then you have an opportunity.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is on Object 6. If you read the submission of the witness, the last paragraph, where stating that leaving the members of Parliament in office, it will be abuse of the incumbents. I want to highlight to the witness that the office of the MP, even as we are working right now, it has no resources attached to it that will give an opportunity for an MP to abuse the resources, government resources. We don't have any resources that are attached to apart from having an office which has no resources. So I want to understand at what point is the incumbent MP, if re-adopted, is going to abuse the government resources when they don't have resources. The vehicles you see members of Parliament drive, they buy using their own resources. You see a member of Parliament in the constituency, they use their own resources. So at what point are they going to abuse government resources? And the other thing I would want to remind the witness is that I'm here working for the government. They are aspiring candidates. They have more time to work in to campaign in the constituencies than the sitting MPs. I submit. So I want you to clarify at what point are we going to abuse government resources when you are campaigning, when we don't have any resources given to the office. I submit, Chair.
Witness, your colleagues were about to assist you.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'd also just like to add my voice to a few issues that were raised by the honorable members of this committee. I think I'd like to respond to the question that Honorable Garin Kombo asked, where he's saying how does he represent the people that he has been dismembered from. From our understanding, Honorable Member of Parliament, is that the MP appoints the CDFC committee, the CDFC, and
no, it's the law that
yes. So
just to correct, they're prescribed. It's prescribed in the law. So, yeah, just to correct you, the MP nominates only one person from his office as prescribed in the law. Otherwise, all members of the CDF committee are prescribed, those who are appointed in the law, the CDF law.
okay, thank you so much for that guidance. However, it still defeats the purpose of the Member of Parliament providing oversight in terms of administration in the constituency. Therefore, we still feel that the MP should not be part of the local authorities. And further, also I'd also like to speak to the issue of the consultation process. Yes, we applaud the fact that this was the highest number with regards to consultations, but let me bring us to the fact that this 11,000 that we are speaking of is simply 0.5% of the total population of Zambia. So are we still going to say this is a people-driven constitution? I'd also like to speak to the issue of the inclusion of women, youths, and people living with disabilities. We see that the numbers are higher on the other side, but only looking at 3 people with disabilities being included into decision making. This also still shows the discrimination and that is towards the people living with disabilities. And finally, as I close, I think with the consultations that have been made and the percentage of people that have made their submissions, I'd like to pose just a reflection question to say, is 0.5% still enough representation to say that this represents the whole population of Zambia? And legislation we are I think in response to that is that much as these processes or this amendment is being guided by the law, we still feel that the law must be amended in a logical sense. Therefore, our submissions are solely based on objectivity, to say, if you are going to include, for instance, the member of parliament in the local authority, who then now provides oversight in terms of implementation, who are we also looking at considering the issues of separation of power?
You're now repeating an issue.
Thank you.
And also, if you have another.
To Honorable on point 6 on the dissolution of parliament, but Honorable, this sitting that you are sitting is legitimate, very legitimate, and we appreciate, and this is why we've come to appear before you. If you ask me if I appeared before the committee, we didn't, because that process was not a legitimate process, and for various reasons. This we appreciate, and we know that this is how it should have been done. I think a fraud or a fraudulent process. I think we're coming from around.
Order. There's no fraud.
I withdraw that statement. I needed to find fraud. Yes. It's not our language. Chair, thank you for that direction. I retract that statement. But in terms of people's inclusion in that process, and this is why we appreciate sitting before you, and this is a process, and not have any second thoughts about it. In terms of the dissolution of the resources, is not just the vehicles, it's also the power that you hold, and in using those powers when you're still cited for abuse of power, and we want to protect you from that. When given a free will to go any power that you have as a member of parliament, but we have leveled the playground, but we've provided the details on why we think that the dissolution should take place, and resources might be abused because of that legitimate power that you have when still sitting as a member of parliament. We're not saying you'll be getting money from anywhere, but of course the time that you'll be sitting there, it should be accounted for if you are to be paid gratuity, because that has to count in the number of months that you've been in office, and you will not be sitting in this National Assembly to debate issues you've been the community campaigning, and that is why we are saying this should be dissolved, so that we're given enough and even for those that want to compete with you, as opposed to competing with the sitting member of parliament. I submit, unless if my
proceed.
I'd like to comment that we did not call the process illegal, as the Honourable Member had earlier referred to. I just wanted to make that clarification. Secondly, he rightfully so put it that there is no prescribed number of submissions that would have been made or should have been made to, for the purpose of this conversation, legitimize the process. However, as my colleague had earlier stated, 0.5% for a process supposed to represent the Zambian people is quite low at any given point. Is the record 0.5 is the record. We do not, but if we are saying are supposed to represent 0.5 is that we could possibly come up with. We, however, do recognize that this process is legitimate as per the Constitution, and that there is no legal backing for what threshold should be there for these consultative processes that had taken place.
Thank you, witness. I'll allow the last interventions, then I'll close the meeting. I'll close the interaction. Honorable Mungandu, Honorable Daka, in that order.
Thank you, Chair. Just to start with, so that I'm happy that the witness has acknowledged that the process is not illegal, because I wanted to take the witness to Article 67 of the Constitution, where it says a member of parliament or a minister may introduce a bill in the National Assembly, and the bill that we are considering now was introduced by the minister. Chair, there is need, I believe, that NGOs should interact with parliamentarians. Very, very important, so that you understand what MPs are going through, their rights, their administrative boundaries in terms of what we do. Extremely important, sir, because the abuse of resources, no MP has access to resources whatsoever. No MP. And what you are projecting and telling the people is that these people have access to resources. When there is no development out there, the first person to blame is an MP. You don't talk about the councillor, a chairman, or the technical staff in the councils. You call the name of the MP. You see the MP ranking, no, Mpika MP is number 1, this MP is number 1. You don't talk about the council. So there is need, Chair, seriously, for us to interact with NGOs so that we better our country. What I've seen is people just talking because few individuals' interests have been affected somewhere, because probably one is doing the correct thing and we are not accustomed to it, to that change. Then we are having that resistance. Coming to my question.
Can you summarize your submission?
I want to find out, because I've heard the witness talking about the level of consultations. He mentioned Zambia has about, is it 20 million Zambians, and out of 20 million only 11,000 according to them have been consulted. Have you looked at the amendments? Because the amendments were proposed. If you've looked at the amendments, did you look at the Mungomba Constitutional Review Commission? Did you look at the Monakatwe Constitutional Review Commission? Did you look at the Bulletin, the failed Bulletin? how many of those are different from these amendments? If you give us the answer, do you think there was need for us to have again a plethora of sending NGOs out there spending money, that's public money, on things which are well known, curing of the lacunas? Then the final point is, what mathematical calculation or formula did you employ in arriving at 5%? Because what I believe, out of the 20 million, you discover that our population 80% is youth. Out of that 80%, that 40% are people that are legally barred from making decisions. You might remain with maybe 10% as people that can be consulted. Even that 10%, in terms of technical capability, understanding what the constitution is, you discover that you remain with 6%. So I want to find out, in terms of that percentage, are you aggregating the population as it is, or the population that is capable of analyzing what the constitution is? I submit, Chair.
But just for guidance, the witness has belabored on that point and they keep saying the same thing. So you see, this assembly of 156 constituencies has 100% of the 20 million Zambians. So you know, the conversation of consultation is subjective, very, very subjective. Honorable Daka.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Witness, I'll take you to submission number 6. No dissolution of parliament for the campaign period. Witness, we have noticed that in a number of jurisdictions, this practice has been or is there. I'll give you an example, like in Namibia, Mozambique, because I have a African parliament, so it's there. Coming to represent their own countries, when in fact it's during the campaign period. There is no that void of where a country lacks representation at international level, basically because countries have progressed. We cannot be talking about issues to do with an MP having undue advantage over the other, when basically has got no resources like which come from government. We don't draw resources from government. So I want to find out, did your team take time to study what is happening in jurisdiction where there hasn't been any dissolution of parliament during the time of campaigns, and hence justification of what you are trying to present before this committee? Because for you to have confidence to say that this system has got and it can provide an undue advantage to the incumbent during the campaign period should be on a strong base, shouldn't be baseless. Let's discuss issues that are able to be justified and can be justified from enough study or benchmark in nature, like our colleague. Namibia is very far from here. Mozambique is our neighbor. Namibia is our neighbor. This practice is there. What is it as a team have you done to go and find out, or maybe you have found out from those jurisdictions pertaining to these things that you are trying to present before this committee? Have you taken time to go and conduct a study so that you justify your submission on this particular matter? Mr. Chairperson, I submit.
Witness, summarize your response.
Chair, thank you so much, and thank you, Honorable, for that submission. We're not even to go and in other countries. This is Zambia, and we want to ensure that what is contained in our constitution indeed represents the needs of the Zambian people. On the same point that the second last paragraph there, we've highlighted a number of studies that have been done, where we are raising the key issue of abuse of incumbency of office and misuse of state resources in campaign have been recurring.
Order witness. Be brief.
I'll be very brief, Chair. I've raised this point of order. I've heard the witness saying there is no need to benchmark with any other country because his witness, is the witness aware that before Zambia was born, we never had the constitution. We lived just as ordinary citizens in the villages. We adopted our constitution or constitutionalism from the Commonwealth, which is the British system, and this parliament is a member of Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, where I'm a member. So all the practices that are being done, best practices, we don't just develop them, we check what other jurisdictions are doing, then you adopt the best practices, common practices. So for him to say Zambia will just wake up and invade what does he mean? Because people are watching. Chair, guide.
Honorable member, I get your submission. That's the opinion, and he's free to express his opinion. Nonetheless, witness, you're also to get. Please make a summary of a submission.
Thank you, Honorable. It's not that we are going to exist in just as in a vacuum. Definitely, we need to appreciate what others have done. But I think my submission and my opinion was on this issue that the Honorable had raised in terms of can we go and benchmark to other countries. If you appreciate the time that you gave us to respond to this, it would have taken so much time for us to fly to Namibia and all that. But nevertheless, I was putting a point to the issue that has been pointed out in the submission, that abuse of incumbency of office and misuse of state resources in campaigns have been recurring issues in Zambia's electoral process, and indeed the Supreme Court in the Wanika and others versus Chiluba in 1998, and recommendations by stakeholders have made repeated recommendations of restrict use of public funds for campaigns. And we take note and we understand that you don't get campaign funds for you to go and campaign from government. What we're talking about is the office, the power that you have as a member of parliament in that office, and sometimes, and in most cases, has been used, to influence and to use such powers for different reasons. And this is why we're saying dissolution should be done, so that you create a plain, fair playground. And definitely learning from other countries is important, and how ensured that they are not abusing the power that they have in ensuring that the elections are not malpractice and as such. Our proposal, Chair, is of course to the members of Parliament, is to ensure that they do their work within the prescribed time and allow for that period for you to go back to your constituencies and be able to campaign with other members who are aspiring to join the team. Chair, I'll allow my colleague to add.
We're behind time. Quickly, as you add, the prescribed time is 5 years. 5 years, constitutional prescribed time. So we don't know which prescribed where. When you say the prescribed time of the term of the MP, we are not talking about this because we want to persuade to understand when you say where, and comment, please.
Thank you so much, Chair. I think I just wanted to make mention that we do appreciate the learning from other countries and other fora. I just wanted to mention that in the time that is suggested that there be no dissolution of Parliament, members of Parliament will not undertake activities, and so just to
the question from the honorable member where he said that other countries, I think he had cited Namibia, they are able to, yes, at international fora. I would just like to clarify that in this time, if members to undertake no activities, it is fair to assume that this includes international activities as well. And so in this 89-day period, if members of parliament will not be taking any international or national activities, it then begs the question, on what basis would the remuneration take place? Yes.
Okay, no, I think we make progress. We make progress. Honorable Duck. No. Let's make progress. Conflicted. Witness, your submission is duly received before this committee as part of the larger group of civil society, and would like to thank you for making your submission before this honorable committee, and would like to lift the immunity that was given so that you continue enjoying that immunity that you already enjoy outside, and we can only wish you well as you execute your mandate as a civil society organization. We thank you.
With us on Parliament Television, the Alliance for Accountability Advocates Zambia has made a submission before the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to scrutinize the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2025. And still to make an appearance before the committee is the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection. Keep watching Parliament Television.